got some pretty big news coming out of Robinhood, them launching their brand new credit card, which actually seems like a pretty good deal when you look at what's going on with it. That does come with a couple caveats, but we'll get into that. Obviously, Robinhood had a whole fiasco with GameStop and AMC turning off the buy button and making people doubt the platform as a whole. I don't think that super has affected Rob. I don't think people have abandoned the platform, right? I think people still use it, but there is that bad taste in people's mouth from that. Maybe they don't want to fully, get on board with different financial products from Robinhood because of that. Completely understandable. But this card seems like a really good thing. Right now, if we look at this card here, you can see the big thing everyone's talking about is 3% cash back across the board. So for everything, you get 3% back, which is a massive thing. I think the standard really is, or like a really good one is 2%. That's the double cash card, very popular. I have that and use it. 2% cash back on everything with that. You have Apple does the same thing, 2% cash back on their card as long as you use Apple Pay, 1% if you don't. So 2% seems like that spot where people are really trying to get to, and that's like been the average, right? That's been what people are looking for. But 3% is massive. It's good, but it also comes with a little bit of a caveat. So if we go down here, obviously we see it's the only credit card you'll need, and it's exclusively for Robinhood Gold members. So that is the kind of takeaway. That is the take back from this. So it's not a free credit card, right? It's not one where like the double cash card, there's no membership fee. This isn't technically a membership fee, but kind of is because it's not only for the card, it's for Robinhood Gold, but it's not free. There is a entry to barrier here. Double cash card doesn't have that. The Apple Card doesn't have that either. So, there is this upfront thing. It is only $5 a month. Robinhood Gold costs $5 a month. So, if you go through this types of stuff, we could see if we do this and say if you're spending, if you need to make that $5 back, how much do you have to spend to make $5? So, if you need to obviously make that $5 back to break even, basically, and it's 3% cash back, you need to spend $167 to make the $5 back. So if you're spending that, you'll break even. Now you can go into different calculations to say, well, if you compare it to like the double cash card, you get 2% for free. There's a higher break even point there. I think people say it's like $6,000 a year. Is where the like break even point between comparing those two cards are. But just basically going through just this card, $167 a month or $2,000 a year will get you the break even on the Robinhood Gold cost here for $5. So obviously that's if this all stays, because this is a really, really big cash back thing. Obviously the kind of standard and higher end is 2%. 3% for everything is kind of crazy. Assuming it's a loss leader for Robinhood, that could be the case. And if that is, how long are they willing to do this, right? How long will the 3% stay around? And if 3% goes to 2%, then it's ultimately not really worth it because it comes with that $5 a month entry fee, where these other cards that offer the same thing don't do that. But if we keep going down here, you can see for travel, you get 5% back on travel when you book through Robinhood's travel portal. So that's another point where people are looking at saying, obviously he's saying 5% cash back on travel, really good. But the caveat, going through Robinhood's travel portal, what does that entail? It's kind of like how these other cards work, right? And then it gets all these benefits that I think any Visa card really gets, right? You get the trip interruption protection, you get security, rental, collision damage waiver, extended warranty, return protection, zero liability. You get all these different kinds of travel things. I think that you get this with basically any Visa card. Maybe not, but I think that is the case. So these aren't exclusive to Robinhood or anything. So more like Visa. So there's still benefits, but nothing to really write home about. Other cards that don't have a entry fee do that. They also have virtual cards. So I think this is kind of a standard. I don't know if the traditional credit card suppliers like Citi and Visa and these guys or not, like the people who are doing these credit cards, the traditional guys. I don't know if they really have dove down this path of virtual cards. I know Apple has the Apple Card. You get virtual card with it, and you can reset your virtual card whenever you want, get a new one, new numbers and stuff. With Robinhood, they're going down the same thing. I would expect this from them. They're kind of this tech platform, this tech company. So if they didn't have this, that'd kind of be like, what are you doing? But they have virtual cards. Again, nothing too insane. Apple does the same thing, but I guess better to have it than to not, because if they didn't, that would be just kind of really dumb. So uh, they also got, you can add card holders of any age so everyone can build credit. So you can kind of put people on your account and have them build credit. This is something people do all the time with their kids. They'll put them on their account so that they can build credit while they're not old enough to have a credit card. I mean, obviously, you got to pay your credit card on time and have good credit yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to give them bad credit. Don't want to do that. But track spending, set spending limits, and lock lost cards instantly. Again, normal kind of things, you know. Maybe if they, because they are a tech company, and I've just comparing the Apple Card to like the Double Cash Card, I use both. The Apple Card UI and looking through stuff on there is much better than the Double Cash Card, so City's card. Obviously, I would expect that a tech company knows how to make the UI experience better. So I would assume Robinhood would have the ways of doing this much better and have it be a much better experience, and that would be where the value comes from, because you can still do this with any card, right? But I think they're going to have a good UI for it, and then obviously reserve your spot. So it's not out yet, but this card honestly seems like a pretty good deal. Just for the 3% back, the $5 a month is kind of that effort thing where you look at it and say, is it worth it to go for this card than a free Apple Card or Double Cash Card? I mean, it is something to think about, right? There is a barrier to entry here. It's not a free card, so it does kind of have the monthly or yearly fees, $60 a year, $5 a month, and you have to go and pay that, right? So is the 3% cashback worth it? Probably at the break even of 2,000 on just the card. I think that's probably something people are spending anyways. But I think it raises to $6,000 when you compare it to other free cards. So then you really have to think, like, is it going to be worth it, right, to spend the $5 a month to get this card? Or are you not going to spend that money? Because what you don't want to do is spend $6,000 or $7,000, right, to get over that break even point and to make it benefit you, but you're spending money that you didn't have to spend in the first place. Then you're doing a negative, right? That's not something you want to do. So ultimately, seems like a good card. Some people are responding to this. We can look at some people on Twitter here. Someone wrote, obviously, this new card talking about it. And also, yeah, I guess you also get, because you have to have gold, so you also get 5% on uninvested cash in their brokerage account. So you get 5% interest, basically. The IRA match, I mean, is it worth it? I don't know. Maybe if you don't have an IRA, maybe. But you can see some of the people, like this guy, saying, you know, after this AMC fiasco with Ken Griffin, everyone, never trust them again. So I do think that there are people who have a bad taste in their mouth for Robinhood and aren't going to do anything Robinhood related because of what happened in the past with GME and AMC. So can't really blame them. It was a crazy situation. But looking at you know, some of the people responding here, you know, there's obviously people doing math. So the credit card community really dives into this stuff, into points and point maxing and doing all this different stuff and rotating cards to getting the max rewards. So, you know, there's going to be people who are nerding out, who are doing calculations to say, well, you know, this is still better and this is not an entry cost and all this. But just looking at it bare bones, seems like an amazing card. This is where the math was here of someone saying $6K to spend before it is worth it versus a 2% back card, basically a free card like Double Cash, where you don't have this fee every month or year, and Robinhood will. So 6,000 is the break-even number, apparently. Honestly, there's a lot of people here. See, again, like Uber tried this, great initial terms, getting slashed when the card proved to be a cost center. So that is the worry too, right? If this ends up being or is being a loss leader for Robinhood right now, how long will they allow that to be a loss leader until they lower the rates and lower the terms, which then makes it a card not really worth having. If it goes down at 2%, it's definitely not worth having. There's free cards that give you that you don't need to pay a monthly subscription for, right? So I think they have to stay at this higher level. Will they be able to? Is the end of the question here. Is it a loss leader, or is it, such a minuscule loss leader that they can keep it there until they figure out a way to make money on it? But let me know what you think of the Robinhood card. Would you consider getting one, or would you stick to just the basic 2% cards that don't have any kind of friction where they have an upfront fee or anything? But that's going to do it for this video. As always, don't forget to smash the button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video.